Hello, Southern Hang family. Neil Wilding here with my good friends Sherman Brown, Brian Redman, also joined by a very special guest this week, Colonel Stephen Middleton. You go by Steve, Stephen. What should we call you here, Colonel?
I prefer any is fine. Just don't call me late for supper.
That's right.
Southern saying goes. There we go. But I say Stephen professionally because there's another Steve Middleton in my general geography of where I live that gets arrested a lot.
Oh, man, try having a name Wilding, man. I feel like there's a Wilding on America's Most Wanted list all the time. I don't think it's me. Well, well, to our audience, this is just so folks know, Steve has a company, State Run Media, and as you mentioned, a company of one. But you've been busy. You've got, from my count, pushing 20 different documentaries that you've put out there into the ether. And it seems to me a common theme is Kentucky, Appalachia. And your most recent one is focused on Appalachian music and a legend in his own right. The name of that documentary is From the Cowboy's Boot Heel, right? And that's the story of Rob McNerlin. And I call myself a bit of a music nerd, but I did not know Rob. But boy, as I went to watch your story, I should have, because he is a bit of a legend, and the story that is told, what I think is awesome, and love to hear you kind of talk about that process coming together. The story is told through several of the people that he's played with, either in his band or has been on stage with them, and you got to talk to a lot of those folks. And each one of them has quite the legendary resume and folks that they've worked with. So I encourage our audience. I'm quite confident you're going to be motivated to go check out the documentary and Rob's music. So that's a long way of saying, Steve, hey, welcome to Southern Hang, my man.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to be here. I hope I can lend some credence here to your conversation. I'm just pleased to be here. So
Yeah.
thank you all for having me.
So go ahead, guys.
No, absolutely. I was welcome to the show. I would like to hear, just to start us off, generally we jump right in and talk about the project itself. What drew you to filmmaking? Let's back up and talk to us about, before the Colonel, talk to us about Little Steve. What was he doing?
So, I grew up moving around a lot as a kid, and I always lived in rural areas. I lived, of course, in Appalachia, ultimately, but I lived in Battle Mountain, Nevada. I lived in Wickenburg, Arizona, Apache Junction, Arizona, all these odd little towns to some people. And, growing up in the 90s, as I did, in the early days of cable, being a shy, odd kid socially, I watched a lot of TV, and movie channels were my favorite. And I love Twin Peaks and Northern Exposure on TV, and I love staying up late watching talk shows, but also watching obscure movies. And there's really only two things I ever want to do with my life, and that was make movies and play music. And I've been mediocre at both, but I've done them. So you can't take that away from someone as long as they try. Like the Rick Rubin quote, "You're a professional," is the first time you put your work out in the world for someone else to listen or see. But that's what kind of drew me to it. And when I moved to East Kentucky, I'm from a little area called Access, Kentucky, and it's so rural, it's called Access because it was the only road that gave you access to the county. And
We've been to some small towns. That's a small town.
And, Elliott County's one of 120 Kentucky counties, but it never had a red light in it or a train track. It's one of its claim to fame. The country singer Keith Whitley was from there.
How old were you when you moved to that town?
I was, 13, 14, 1997. I remember very well.
You moved there at 13 or 14?
Yeah.
Where were you prior to again?
Wickenburg, Arizona. Yeah, that's...
Talk to me, what's the population there in Wickenburg?
Wickenburg, 5,000-6,000.
Oh, so they actually have stoplights. Okay.
Yeah. Wickenburg's doing pretty good these days. It's a famous snowbird town.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona. It's close enough to Phoenix that it's almost it could be a suburb of a suburb. So,
but then you end up in
not so much
Access.
Appalachia.
You end up in Access, Kentucky. Was your dad in the military or something? Is that why you're hopping around? Or?
No. My dad worked in construction. He worked for a company called Irby Construction Company, and they did electrical towers, and they were pretty much doing electricity, hooking into Lake Tahoe all the way out to the Pacific Ocean, and then working their way back east. And then my grandmother died, and my dad inherited the farm. Appalachian people are very much like salmon. They're always trying to find an excuse to go home. I don't know if you and so, well, here we go. Let's lean into this, life and move back home and live on the farm and grow tobacco and, live this life that I saw on the Waltons, as a kid. And that's how I ended up there. So, and
so
I
a little
watched
bit
a lot
of
of
work.
TV and movies along the way. So.
A little bit of work on a tobacco farm makes you real quick. You want to do something else. It's
Yeah,
hard work, man.
and that was probably some of my most adolescent grouchy memories is not wanting to move to Kentucky, let alone rural eastern Kentucky, but having to work in tobacco fields is not fun. You're right. It makes you honest very quickly. It makes you grouchy very
does.
quickly too.
No doubt.
I looked for a desk real fast. I was like, how do I get a job doing something else?
Something with some AC.
Yeah, you got
Get
that
me
right.
out of there. Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here.
So going to, so what, 13, 14, that's like middle school, is that right? Or early?
yeah,
So
second
you,
grade, yeah.
like, were there like 10 other people in your class, or was it, it was a little bitty?
It was small. My graduating class, I believe there was about 50 to 60 of us, I think, so small that you knew everyone's name, whether you wanted to or not. And you couldn't really just blend in that environment, and I can only imagine what it's like growing up in Louisville, or Cincinnati.
That's the big town.
Yeah, the big cities, and hey, did you go to high school? What year did you graduate? Did you go to high school?
Well, that's what you do.
I don't know, but yeah.
That's Louisville. Everybody tries to play the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? You either know somebody or your next door neighbor is their best friend's barber or something. Like there's always some type of connection here in town for sure.
One of my favorite Louisville, like a decade ago, the people I knew from Louisville would say everyone in Louisville tries to claim they know Jim James.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's probably not relevant anymore. But.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's
In certain
around
circles,
here.
certain circles, yeah.
It's Jim James' Louisville, right? There's the sign up. That's what it's. He's got his own. I don't know what building it's on, but he's got one of those.
I don't know him, but we see him on Barstown Road a lot. But I don't know him. I would not say I know him at all. But he is walking along. He'll just be out. So I can see how it could happen.
Yeah. So did you? Is that when you mentioned making movies and music? And I'm looking behind you. I see. What is that, like a banjo and a guitar? Like when did you pick up music?
My dad was a musician, and he taught me how to play guitar, and growing up in the era that I did, in the '90s, MTV, and that was. I think about that a lot, about how influential MTV was to all of our lives of that era. And I was just driving the other day and was thinking about the Kurt Loder MTV News updates. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
News from Kurt Loder, and still to this day, it could be, breaking news on CNN or any of the other cable news. It's not as serious to me as Kurt Loder, but
Right.
yeah, I wanted to be a musician. I loved all the dorky bands of that era. I remember going to school and all the kids were talking about their favorite guitar players, and I said, "Oh, mine's Peter Buck of REM." And they were like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" But
Heard.
please,
Heck yeah, man.
I
I would have agreed with you.
Eddie Van Halen, come on, who in Appalachia is going to play like Eddie Van Halen? But yeah, so I got into playing music and writing sad songs in rural Appalachia, as you do. And the interesting thing about storytelling and just kind of a common theme in my work is just kind of following and focus on obscure people. And I was very influenced by these documentaries that Jacob Young produced when I was a kid. Of course, he did the most famous, The Dancing Outlaw, that discovered Jessica White and the White family, and then that spun off to The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia and all that. But those would come on late at night on West Virginia Public Broadcasting, just strange, just odd people. So that kind of drew me to a lot of subjects, but so Olive Hill, Kentucky was close to where I was from. Tom T. Hall was from there. And then the county I was from, Keith Whitley, the country singer, was from there. Mm-hmm. And then the next county over, Ricky Skaggs was from there. And the next county over, the Judds was from there. So you had this Dwight Yoakam and all this combination. And then you go back, 20 years, 30 years before me, you had famous musicians from that region. And now 20, 30 years past me, you have that with, of course, Tyler Childers and Chris Stapleton, Ian Noe and Sturgill Simpson. So there's always this constant, closeness. You can almost touch fame, or someone that knows fame. In music, I think, was that for a lot of Appalachian people, not just me. But yeah, I wanted to write something, but I didn't want to. I always wrote my own songs, which was nobody wants to hear a singer-songwriter until they're famous,
Are you? Is the songs that you write? You reference being a storyteller. Are they? Is it the mushy love stuff? Is it the big truck driving through mud, or is it truly trying to tell it? Be a storyteller.
Try to be a storyteller. So I played for a long time in a band, in a string band, old time string band or folk band, whatever you want to call it. We were called the New Beckham County Ramblers, and so I wrote most of the songs that we performed there. And probably the one song I was most proud of was called "I Dreamed I Saw River Phoenix Last Night." It's where we combining, rural strangeness, but with movies and growing up and things like that. But no love songs. More odd and strange. David Lynch type.
There you go.
Songs,
yeah, that's right.
With banjos, So.
Well, and then did you meet Rob and think and kind of come to what led you to thinking, hey, this is a great story that I could tell through a documentary?
That's a great question. So I met Rob when I was in college, and Rob. In college, I started playing music with people for the first time in college, and all my favorite bands, at that time, like I had gotten away from the, 90s alt stuff, and I got really into Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, and more folk and alt country stuff, Whiskey Town, Ryan Adams, but I really loved the band and Bob Dylan and Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And so a whole different world opened up, and so I met this guy, he was 6'5". He's a really tall guy, and he's always wearing an old school duster cowboy jacket and a gigantic cowboy hat. And he walked in with his guitar, and I worked in this coffee shop, and he was the act that night. And the week before, I ran sound for a pretty famous bluegrass guy. I won't say who he is, but and he did not like my quality of audio engineering that night. And so here comes this guy, very intimidating, and his guitar player, Dave Prince, who performs now.
Laid Back, yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching the doc, and he popped up. I'm like, wait a minute, yeah.
So these guys come in, and I'm like, oh, and this guy's very intimidating, and so he comes over, and I said, okay, well, what do you need for sound, and he told me exactly what he wanted. And I did the setup, and we ran through one song, and that was that, and at the end of the night, he came up and he thanked me. And I was like, wow, running sound and I don't get yelled at. This is nice. And and he just loved to talk about music. And, I was like, hey, do you remember in Europe 72 when the Dead went to Copenhagen? Oh, yeah, on that show, Big Ben played a marine band harmonica. Neil Young, and he would just go down these rabbit holes of talking about music.
Steve, hang on a second. Hey, Sherm, Red, see, there are other people in the world like me that tell stories and just go on and on about music. There are other people.
We have found your match. We have found your match.
We are aware you talked to him earlier this week, set this interview up, and gave him like 55 things to mention. You were like, here are your bullet points.
Right.
Just hit these when we go through so that I look like I know what I'm talking about. We know.
Sorry, I had to. Yeah.
That's awesome.
No. And then he was just a super nice guy, he had, not long after that, he had moved to Nashville. And, I would keep up with him here or there, but I'm not the best social media guy. And the product of that is, one, I think I just don't care anymore. In my age, you get to a certain age. And well, anyway, so a friend of mine sent me a screen cap of a post of Rob that said he was retiring from music. And I thought, well, man, what's this? And, the one constant in the world was Rob McNervin touring somewhere. And, all these people that used to be associated with Rob have gone on to great fame. JT Cure, Grammy-winning bass player for Chris Stapleton now. He played Rob.
Yeah.
Dave Prince, laid back country picker. So he always had these.
Yeah. Stephen Vaughn's got, or Kenny Vaughan, Kenny Vaughan.
Kenny Vaughan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Cousin Kenny. And, and so he had this combination of all these people, and I was like, man, if Rob's hanging it up, what's going on in the world, So I just wrote him, and he said, let me think about it, which I respected. And I don't know if you deal with this in filmmaking, and especially making documentary films, you have an idea, you get excited, and then you reach out to people, and sometimes they just break your heart. I'm not interested, or I don't know about that. But he responded, and he said, let me think about it. And I had honestly forgotten about it. And I was playing with the string band then. We actually did a little tour of Ireland. And when I was in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, actually, I got a message back from him. He said, yeah, let's do it. And I said, well, it'll just be a little while before I get back. And
so when was this? Was this like early? Because your film came out in 2025. Was this a while ago?
This would have been fall. This would have been fall of 24.
Okay.
The filmmaking process for me is pretty quick once I get to it. And that's the reason why there's so many. I'm not
you got to teach me on that side. My art process is not quick.
Well, I grew up, my favorite filmmaker is Werner Herzog, and when I was young, I would discover, when Netflix was still, the mail service was great for cinephiles, so you could finally watch these obscure movies you read about. And I remember there for about 6 months, it was nothing but Werner Herzog films, and I loved it because there was always another Herzog film to watch that I haven't seen, and some were terrible. Like Werner Herzog eats his boot. It was a legit, film where he boiled a boot and was eating it. And my best fiend about his relationship with Klaus Kinski. But I always liked that model, and I always thought, well, I want to make movies and I want to call myself a filmmaker, but I don't want to just sit on something and because I felt like I did that. I still do that to some extent. Like, oh yeah, I'm making a film, yeah, and people would be like, oh, when are you going to finish that? So I never liked that feeling of almost, not following through. So I kind of went the other way. I think I might have produced too quickly. And if you do 20, 1 out of 20 is all right, especially working with Rob, which made it a lot easier.
So you approach him, right? He contemplates for a little bit, gets back to you, but as you're envisioning where this documentary is going to go, or as a storyteller, like do you have a concept of what it's going to shape up to be, or is it the idea and then the story tells itself, and then do those people have to kind of give you last right of refusal to say, I don't like what you did here, you've got to make some cuts, or great job, or here's a box of cigars?
Rob very much and I were similar in the sense of we got a little bit of a circus atmosphere about our life, a carnival aspect. Of all the films I've made, I did 2 on pro wrestling, and kind of growing up in these worlds, and then in a string band trying to promote and play gigs anywhere too. You're constantly self-promotion machine, and I knew deep down Rob has always toured and played, and he kind of had that Grateful Dead model of he wasn't going to make any money off the CD, but you might come see him play and buy a shirt and buy an album from him. But I knew deep down that Rob would do everything in his power to help get himself over in that sense if we made a film about him, and all of his friends, pull all of his people in there and promote it. So Rob was in with me 100%. Once he was on board, said, let's do this right. And we started making a short list of people to interview, Marty Stewart.
Yeah.
Jorma Kaukonen of Jefferson Airplane, and Hot Tuna's on that list, and Ramblin' Jack Elliott, which we didn't get to interview from these folks on. But so we sat down and made a list, and I'm looking at these and thinking, well, I can definitely interview laid-back country picker, but I don't know about Marty Stewart. But it all came together, and he was with me for a lot of the shoots, other than I think I interviewed him one or two without him just because he was playing gigs. But no, he was on board the whole way. But yeah, I've had people refusing me. That's the heartbreaking side of this. And the older I get, the more I get more jaded with law and legalities and things. And you could put all this work into producing a film, and you get permission, people sign off of it, and then in the end they still don't want it. Or they find some reason to get talked out of it, and that's one of the most heartbreaking sides of documentary filmmaking, is that, or someone asking to have something removed at the end, and you just know that's going to be a powerful piece. And no, we were on board the whole way, and I've been so blessed with all my films, but especially this one, because Rob was so adored by these people, and they all had the same story I did, just reversed a little. He was just the nicest guy to talk to. He would talk about old amplifiers and old guitars and, random cowboy shows, and that's what him and Marty Stewart were talking about when I was with them, is they were talking about like old cowboy TV shows like Louisiana Hayride and old singers and stuff from the 40s and 50s. But, I learned a lot from Rob, but I think what I learned the most was just kind of be friendly to people, and he never was one to really talk a lot about himself. He's much more comfortable talking about any of the other stuff, Jerry Garcia, the folk singers, Bob Dylan, than he was talking about himself.
Well, I think it's awesome how, like, I'm not going to spoil your doc, but just what you just said there about him being such a good guy, it resonated throughout the film, and it was obvious even before it was said. And then when you get to the end and you're running through all the people, they all then say it. It was really interesting to see how each of the people that contributed, that, like you said, you got folks that are in, Stapleton's band and Marty Stewart and Laidback, all these guys, and they adore. It made me want to run and check out his music, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's back on streaming, too, by the way.
I saw on your soundtrack. You got the soundtrack to the movie, right?
Yeah.
Throw some plugs out there. Where are we streaming?
Yeah, where are we watching
on all streaming services. Just look up Rob McNerlin from Cowboy's Boot Hill soundtrack. I picked those songs to be on there. Rob had gotten so fed up with the business side of music that he pulled his music streaming because he was only making like a couple $100 a year. And that's the thing. It's the most money I ever made from it. We had 10,000 plays, which is like $30. But if you sold, 10,000 CDs, imagine the money you would make from that.
Well, maybe you need to do the old Johnny Blue Skies and just release the vinyl, only the vinyl.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he's back on streaming, but he took all of his music off there for a bit, but he's back.
It's got to be an interesting process, like to be interesting enough for someone to make a documentary of you, right? It's got to be a little bit of a strong look in the mirror, right? And for the most part, you assume everybody's going to say they're a great guy. But what if they say that guy's a dick? Like, I wouldn't want to hang out with him. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be a little bit eye-opening to think, what does the world think of me, right? It to some degree you can't care. But at the same token, it's interesting to put it into a medium where you have to get that feedback.
Yeah, that's true. The only negative comment I can think anyone said was McNerlin specializes in ways not to make money. And it really made me laugh because I always feel like that's my stream too. I play the banjo and make documentaries. Trying not to make money.
Money and ladies, right?
You're an
Line them up.
You're an artist. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, Rob, is a traveling folk singer, wood carver,
Well, but does this movie get made if we're not in this renaissance of this kind of music? Because I do feel like we're in a bit of a, I won't call it the golden era, because the music's always been there and it's always been great, but there's just so much more of a spotlight on it now.
Yeah, I think so. I think, whether we want to admit it or not, COVID completely altered the fabric of space and time with our culture, one way or the other. And I think, one of the things that came out of that is, especially here in Kentucky, is everyone wants to kind of get closer to something, and whether that's the arts or music for Rob. But I think they saw this as an opportunity that, Rob's been around for a long time, and I know him, and his JT Cure plays with him, and he Tyler Childers he played guitar for Tyler as a kid, and so there was this connection that sort of connected,
Mm-hmm.
and so Rob was kind of in the center here, and so I think they definitely brought some of that back in. And, everyone from Huntington, West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, going as far as Lexington to Cincinnati, had probably seen Rob play. If you went to any of the more folk country bluegrass themed joints, from the Burl and the V Club, they've renamed that now. I can't think what they call it now, Huntington, West Virginia. But yeah, so they always had a story of my favorite was this guy, and he said, I saw Rob play at this minor league baseball park in Lexington, and there was like 10 people there, but he was dressed in this amazing, suit. This, I think he's got a legit nudie suit. All of these, it's not sequins, but what do you call the rhinestone?
Yeah, rhinestone. Yeah.
I was thinking Electric Horseman, the Robert.
The guy said the light would hit it, blind us, And so that was kind of his story of Rob. But he was playing to 5 people as if he was playing, the Ryman Auditorium. But I think so. I think people connection and trying to be connected to people definitely helped with the sort of renaissance of the music and the way it is.
So you seem like a very driven individual. It probably because of the early days working in the tobacco industry, right? Hey, I've got to find something to stay out of that shit. But like, so do you have many pokers in the fire? Like, what's next on the horizon for you? You got 2 or 3 deals you're waiting to work? Or?
Well, you never doubt the power of a hillbilly here. So a couple things happened from this Rob film, and it's not a great success, but it's a success to me, the film. And for the first time in my life, I actually did something that people paid attention to. And it's a very bizarre feeling. And so now I'm a little worried of, now I can't just go out and make all these random films that, no one's going to see. And now I'm a little second guessing myself, like, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I don't know, will people expect more of me now? So in part of me, I remember reading once that the Coen brothers, right after they did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, wanted to hurry and make another film really quick. Just to kind of move on to say they made another film after that great success. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, maybe I should do that. Not that I'm comparing myself to the Coen brothers. But I've been filming a lot of stuff, and I don't really have a particular theme. So I've been working with this guy. He's been documenting through his really nice professional photography the last train engines and train lines in Appalachia. So in this part of the world, trains generally only move coal, and passenger trains went out here in the 70s. And so, Amtrak comes through, but I'm pretty sure Amtrak you have to go to West Virginia or Lexington to get on this side. But there's not a lot of trains left is the whole point. So I've been sort of documenting this guy, documenting the last photos of the last trains that's coming through. Also, kind of got back to my roots of interesting people. I ran onto this funeral director who's also a piano player and piano tuner. And so I've been filming some stuff with him, and sort of what an interesting combination. He sells pianos too out of his funeral parlor, and that's the thing that always amazed me about rural communities, and going back to David Lynch and Northern Exposure, is rural towns have just the oddest people in them, and how they ended up there is so fascinating, and then why they stayed is even stranger. And and if you can make a living at various different things, why not? Nobody bothers you. But Appalachia's become hip. I don't know if you all have caught on to that, but because of music,
Yeah.
and TV, there's a lot of outsiders moving into this very secluded region of the world, and a lot of social media influencers, those types now.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre to me to go to some of these rural towns and see people walking with camera crew, or at least have like an iPhone on, a gimbal or some sort of setup of lights, and so that interests me too. Like, of all places in the world you could become a social media influencer, you move from Colorado to Appalachia. Okay.
Yeah.
But so I don't have anything per se I'm working on, but I'm trying to do something. My dream project is to boat the entire length of the Ohio River, start with Big Sandy in East the Ohio, and then go all the way and meet the Mississippi, then sort of talk about the towns in between. Cincinnati and Louisville, obviously, doing all right. Mm-hmm. What about the other little towns along the lines?
Well, Sherman's dream is also to be a captain of a boat. So maybe Sherman, move your dream to
very specific deep sea fishing, but we can alter it. We can alter it. My question. I thought you were trying to tie in when you were talking about the funeral director, and going back to your wrestling. I thought you were trying to tie in the Undertaker and Paul Bearer, his buddy. I thought that's where you were going. Where is this going?
We could try, I guess. Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle.
That's right.
Yes.
Neil, what do you got on that? You don't know Percy Pringle.
I got nothing.
That's right. Yeah. But no, I just find it fascinating that and also I was thinking about this at the red light the other day. I was deep in thought, thinking about how growing up, my ideas with making films was to find these sort of eccentric people and sort of document them. And now everyone wants to be the star, because of social media. They want to be the full, pay attention to me. I'm the star. So, it'd be like, someone watching my film on Rob, but they're down in the corner reviewing it, instead of being interested in interesting people, they want to be the
They want
to be the star now. So that's changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put a request. I've always found interest in movies or shows about Kentucky, right? Obviously, we're from here, and you were a transplant into Kentucky, right? But Justified, right? Did you guys ever watch that series?
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's a fucking time warp somewhere between Lexington and Harlan. Like during the show, they're like, "Yeah, I'm just going to bop down there real quick in 20 minutes."
Oh, well, Harlan.
It's a suburb.
That is not a 20-minute drive.
The Marshals can drive fast.
Yeah. So if you could do some research on that and let me know how in the hell did they make that happen?
The only time I ever went to Harlan, I felt like it took me a whole day to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the eastern, at least the eastern part of the state, due south, there was no east roads to get there.
It's the same way from Lexington. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's called a plot device.
All right.
All right, film nerds. No. That was a rhetorical question.
You got to nerd out. You got to nerd out every time we are on here. I don't get 1, 2 sentences. I've got a question for you though. I want to throw out to you. Back on your wrestling. Give me your. I probably should have warned you this was coming, but give me your Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Who you got?
Okay, the Great Muta, Keiji Muto.
Okay.
Big Van Vader, I think would be number 2. Bret Hart. Would
yes.
Be there. Boy, 4. I don't know. Golly, you put me on the spot a little bit. I probably would have said Ric Flair 20 years ago, but he's done more to damage his career in the last 5 than I've ever seen anyone do. Somebody needs to just make sure he doesn't talk and record himself online. But you probably Flair, to be honest, like, being real. I really like those NWA Jim Crockett promotion years of Midnight Express and Jim Cornette, Louisville guy there. And, that's what always kind of stuck out to me.
So did you used to do would you make the big trip into Louisville for the Tuesday night Louisville Gardens wrestling?
I never made the Louisville Gardens. I went to Lexington a few times. Up until, like 92 or somewhere. Jerry Lawler, Memphis Wrestling still make the circuit. And, you'd see Lawler every now and again.
Some of the big guys came through that, right? Like Macho Man.
Well, Macho Man, but Macho Man and his dad ran the promotion, ICW. And they even recorded their TV show on WTVQ in Lexington. So I interviewed a guy once who, every TV station in the old days had some sort of bozo type character, a clown or some kind of themed show for kids. But the guy that did the clown show also did the wrestling show with the Poffos, and Lanny, and which the genius later in wrestling, Macho Man, his dad. And had some really funny stories to talk about those guys. Just how Randy was always so into character that he went to one of the grocery stores in Lexington, personally shoplifted a steak and put it down his pants just so he could, seem crazy. It's all about promotion.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
The film or music or wrestling, you got to get yourself out there somehow. But yeah, Lexington used to be a big town. Louisville's even bigger.
Love it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is the Garden still there? They tear the Louisville Gardens down?
It's still
No, it's gonna be a studio. It's gonna be a film studio. Louisville Gardens is gonna have it's gonna be a place you can come in. They're still working on it, but I haven't seen the timing on that yet.
Huh.
It originally was a National Guard armory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, yeah.
Sure, he showed you his, but he's on your Mount Rushmore.
Bret Hart is number one. Bret Hart is number one on mine. I mean, I think Bret Hart is my go-to, just a straight up wrestler. Then you get into the new kind of world of I'm a Stone Cold fan. I like Stone Cold.
I like Stone Cold, yeah.
And then going back because I'm a born in '75, but kind of child of the '80s. I think I like your. Mutai threw me off. That was not what that's not the one I would have heard.
Obscure.
That's not the one I would have heard first. My brother will like this a lot, but Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, Paul Orndorff, the best pile driver in the business.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I got to go with Flair too. I'm with you on the. He's tough to beat, man, and just of a performer, but his. Yeah. I'm with you on everything else, but on when I look back at promos and cutting stuff, I mean, he was amazing. I mean, he was just all through the '80s.
One of my favorite Great Muta stories is as a kid, he got it from the Great Kabuki, but he would do the poison mist to the face. He would spit the mist in your face, green or red, And so as a kid, I would mix up Kool-Aid and make it mostly, the powder, and I would put it in my mouth, and then I'd find creative ways to mist my sister, and think about her. That's how influenced I was by the Great Muta as a kid.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Spit the mist.
That's cool.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Spoke to me as a young man.
I had one poster of a wrestler on my wall as a kid. It was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh wow. The Dragon.
But I never made it past the the early WWF when they called it that. I didn't get into the new stuff, but
the NWO and everything else,
I missed it all.
Everything. It was fun times. It was fun times.
Good times. How often can you tell people, that I watched a pay-per-view where Carl Malone and the Utah Jazz fought Dennis Rodman in the NWO. And then at some point, Jay Leno was a part of this too. It was the wildest times of wrestling in the 90s. But Carl Malone,
he's a big dude.
Cutter.
Rodman did it too, right? Didn't Rodman?
Yeah.
I think Rodman's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
He's in there, buddy. He's in there.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, we've taken probably too much of your time, but it has been an absolute blast.
This is great.
So we keep a little playlist of music we love and stuff. So you got your soundtrack, your favorite songs. What song from Rob should we throw on the playlist, and then maybe give me something else that we should throw on there from your taste?
Well, I really like his song "Cowboy Boot Heel." And
it's the namesake of the doc, right?
If you say it real fast, it sounds like boot heel.
Yeah.
Cowboy boot heel. You get that accent on it, but yeah, that's kind of
all right.
Because that was that one speaks to you there. It's about riding the rails and trying to be a folk singer on the road.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to make it as a rock and roller. Imagine being a folk singer.
Something about there's a line in there, like a lyric about like hitting your soul or something like that. Yeah, it's good stuff. What anything else just from like what's on your playlist these days? Anything new that I need to be paying attention to?
That's a good question. I listen to a lot of music. There was a new track that came out today. Kentucky musician Ian No.
Oh, dude. I got it. I got his album hanging on the freaking wall. I love Ian No.
Here we go. You just poked the bear.
Jeez.
Yeah, and he's from Betaville, which isn't too far from where I'm at now. And I really like his music. Not that I don't like the other guys. It's just that's the kind of music that always spoke to me. The more I don't want to say dark, but the lyrics, they're darker.
Well, it's heavy. Yeah.
They paint a picture,
I am so happy that I saw that hit. There's 2 or 3 songs that he that's out of that, and the fact that there's been rumor of this album that's been out there for a while, and it's to see it finally hit. I'm pumped. I love that you said that you added Ian No. That's awesome. That's
just today I listened to that.
That's great, man. Blaze Foley's on one of those tracks with him. Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's on that album. That's a good story too. The Blaze, sad story.
Right.
Blaze Foley. Clay Pigeons. That's always really tearjerker song.
Yeah. Well, Sherm, Red, any parting shots for before we let a good friend go?
Appreciate the time and thank you for your service, my man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all so much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not a colonel in the sense of you all know what a colonel is. Usually I have to explain that I'm not in the military, but yeah. Kentucky colonel is a little bit different.
Sounds like a story for the next pod.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
All right, and before we go, one last thing. Where can we stream the documentary? Where can we go check it out?
It's several places. The most prominent is Amazon Prime. You can stream it on Prime.
Okay.
From the Cowboys Boot Heel, and it did get distributed nationally to PBS. And the circus promoter that I am, I don't really keep up where and when it does air on KET occasionally.
Awesome.
But I think the easiest place is just stream it.
All right. That's awesome. We'll find a link of it, push it out as part of this because this was a treat. I really appreciate it. We love talking Kentucky, and Sherman was pumped to be able to talk filmmaking for sure.
For at least for 2 sentences. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Steve. Seriously, thank you very much. This has been great.
And with that, we will say goodbye to our audience. Thank you all. Appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care.